Hello everybody, welcome back to this course on stress management. In this week's modules on developing resilience to stress, today we will speak about how to manage the anxious thoughts. So this is the second session of role of thoughts, beliefs and emotions in stress, and in today's session we will discuss about some of the strategies of managing stress. So you have learned the theoretical aspects of what is stress, the personality factors relating to stress, and then we have discussed about the physiology of stress, and in the first two modules we have talked about the stress thoughts, emotions and also the relating to stress, and we have spoken about the scales that are important for stress management. So, actually to evaluate how stressed, how anxious an individual is and how to measure personality, we have briefly discussed that. In today's sessions, this will be a little different from all the other theoretical sessions. This and the next one, we will focus on the active plans and active management programs that you can actually take up by yourself or teach somebody who is undergoing stress. So, just a brief about the relationship, to remind you that there is a relationship between the thoughts, moods and behavior and biology also. So, how our body responds to the in a stressful situation, the thoughts, moods and in this case the behavior and the physiology of the individual are all interlinked. So, these brings us to, we must remember this when we are talking of the stress management techniques, because the stress management techniques by itself will not address only the thought or the mood, but as all these are interlinked, the change in the thought process will bring about a change in the mood. So, if I start believing that this is not a very anxiety provoking situation, this is not so stressful and I can deal with it, I can cope with it, then my mood will be more positive. So, I will feel more confident, I will feel less anxious, and it will likewise affect my behavior. So, the avoidance behavior will reduce, and several times the safety behavior will also reduce. So, I will not be overcautious about a situation, and this will also bring about changes in the physiology. So, the palpitations or the sympathetic activation will reduce. So, there will be less sweating of palms, there will be less palpitation, there will be less shortness of breath, and overall this feedback will go back to the thoughts again, to the brain again, and the individual will start thinking that, oh, I am more in composure, so I can control the situation. So, this feedback loop goes on, and like we saw in the vicious cycle of negative of self-esteem, where low self-esteem is induced like a vicious cycle. So, the feedback loop going and enhancing the low self-esteem. In the positive thought also, what happens is this: the moment you start feeling good, you get positive thoughts, and the more positive thoughts you get, you have more adaptive behavior. Again, if you have more adaptive behavior, you will get more opportunities to perform well, and the thoughts will also become more positive and mood will become positive, and all this will affect the physiology. So, if you are feeling less stressed, you will have less tension headaches. If you are feeling less stressed, you will have less immune related illnesses. So, what should we remember? First, whenever we are talking of understanding and managing stress, we must recognize and admit that we are feeling stressed. So, if an individual is ignoring the stressors in his life, we have done a stress audit earlier and we know how to identify the stressors in our life. So, the internal dimensions, the external dimensions, and then doing stress analysis, what are the primary areas that are being affected. We have done that earlier. So, now that is the first step towards recognizing and admitting that you are feeling stressed. So, there is nothing wrong in feeling stressed, but it is more important, or there is everything wrong in denying it. So, the moment you are aware of it, half your work is done. So, then it brings us to how to cope with the stressor, and there are two types of control, or here we speak about self control and situational control. So, the today we are going to discuss about the self control first. So, self control techniques include constructive self talk and cognitive restructuring, and also other than these. So, these are the techniques that an individual may employ himself to bring about changes within himself. The situational control techniques are by taking control of the environment. Now, this is it is not feasible always to take control of the environment. So, how do we do it? We adapt ourselves to the environment and adopt certain strategies to get more adjusted to the environment. So, in self control techniques, we are actually looking at bringing about changes in ourselves. So, it may be lifestyle changes like relaxation and breathing exercise, physical exercise, a healthy lifestyle, changes in the diet, changes in the exercise plan, changes in the sleep hygiene, sleep routine. Now, all this, but these could be all lifestyle changes along with changes in the way we are thinking. So, it started with accepting that I am anxious, I am stressed, and then getting to corrective measures about dealing with stress. So, it is no point in ignoring the situation, but rather getting into more of constructive self-talk and cognitive restructuring. So, what is constructive self-talk? So, identifying the negative self-talk. We have spoken about negative automatic thoughts earlier. So, what you can do is you can start writing down that what are the, say in today's session, after today's session, you can put it down as what are the negative thoughts that come to my mind. So, if is there, what do I tell myself? Okay, say if I tell myself, Rajlakshmi, you can't do this well. Rajlakshmi, you can't, you're not a good speaker. Rajlakshmi, you can't interact well with people. So, throughout the day's happenings, what happens is that throughout the day we interact with several people, or maybe we get feedback from several people through our interactions, and many times also while we are carrying on some individual activity by ourselves. So, if I am studying and I see that I am not being able to focus, so it may be the self-talk may be Rajlakshmi, you can't focus on this, you are no good at anything. So, this, see, what is happening is I am generalizing, over generalizing. So, identifying the negative self-talk is very important. Many times people who have an external locus of control actually blame it on others or focus on others' behaviors or their thoughts or the situation as the reason for their stress, but they ignore the self-talk that they themselves do. So, now you could write down to see what are the negative self-talks that you, what are the negative self-comments you keep, what are the discussions that you have with yourself. So, if you can put down on a document and write it down and develop alternate positive self-talk statements. So, many times, very simply put, that many times they can be like just opposite of I am no good. No, I am good. Challenge that statement. So, I am good at A, B, C, D, E. So, who said I am not good? So, challenge that. So, talk to yourself as if you are your own counselor. You are telling yourself that, well, there are, who said you are bad? So, you are on a debate with yourself. Who said that you are not good at this? There are other things that you are good at, or this is something that you are good at. Maybe at this point in time you feel that you are not good. So, give yourself positive self-talk statements, and also so you are challenging yourself on your negative self-talk, and you are also boosting yourself with positive talks. So, I have seen this works very well with students, where you can write it down on your monitor, on your screensaver. You can put a positive quote for yourself. You identify something that goes very well with you, something positive, and you put it down, and so that you can look at it every time and tell yourself, yes, that is what I need to do. The yes should come more from within. So, it is like, yes, I can do it. Now, cognitive restructuring. What exactly is cognitive restructuring? This was given by Ellis as an ABC model, and this has been extended to ABCDE. And let's see what A stands for. A stands for an antecedent or the active situation or the experience that you are going through. So, whenever there is a stressful situation and you have there were stressed responses, anxiety responses, say if you had panic symptoms after a stressful situation, in a stressful situation, what you can do later is you can put it down as in the ABCDE model. So, A stands for the active situation. So, in this case, say I was panicked during a performance. So, not being able to complete the task on time. I took this example. What is the belief that is triggered? We spoke about the theory last time of in the previous session about the anxiety model, and so you know what the belief is. So, what beliefs are, what core schemas are. So, what are the beliefs that are related to the situation? So, in this case it may be something like I am good for nothing. What are the behavioral, emotional and physiological changes that are happening when this thought is triggered, and in the situation when the belief is triggered that I am good for nothing? And then what are the changes, physical changes, the emotional changes, what are the behavioral changes? So, you may be sad, one may be sad, stressed, it could be more of physiological changes of feeling exhausted, feeling the low mood. We've discussed sad changes, avoiding situation, avoiding friends, spending time more on the internet rather than interacting on a face-to-face. This does happen with people who are socially anxious and they avoid public gatherings or group gatherings, large gatherings. So, many times instead of going out and interacting with people on a face-to-face level, they prefer more of the virtual network. So, people cannot see me. So, I am talking to them over Facebook or Twitter or whatever social networks. So, the D is identifying the irrational beliefs. So, after in the situation, after the beliefs are triggered and there are changes in the physiology and the behavior and the mood, the next is identifying these irrational beliefs. So, what are the things that are bothering me? What are the thoughts? So, I will have to take care of using my time properly instead of thinking that I am good for nothing. So, this could be that the alternating behavior pattern. So, here the challenging the belief and thinking about what are the other ways it can be dealt with. That will bring us to E, where we are actually trying out the newly learned strategies and finally evaluating them. So, the D and E in this ABCDE model is very important. So, when we are talking of, say we have, so in A we have actually the situation. So, if you are going through an anxiety situation, anxiety provoking situation or a stressful situation, you can write this down. Say, think about, this is one active task that you could start doing. You think about the last anxiety provoking situation that you went through, or you could ask one of your friends this and do this exercise where you put this down in an ABCD model. So, A would be the situation, what had happened. B is the what were the beliefs that were triggered, what were the thoughts that were triggered. C is whatever the behavioral changes, what happened to your mood. You could ask these questions: what happened to your mood, what happened to, how were you feeling, were there any physiological changes, how did you behave, so what were the behavioral changes. And D, how did you deal with it. So, did you actually, you can get this, did you go by the irrational belief. So, that would be a maladaptive behavior. So, avoiding the situation or getting more ill because of the stress, or did you actually challenge the belief. So, did you identify that this is an irrational thought. So, maybe we spoke about the cognitive errors of maximization, personalization, catastrophization, arbitrary inference, selective abstraction. So, you could take this list in front of you and identify that okay, was I having any of these ways of thinking, errors in thinking patterns working in my case? And then you can try out alternative strategies to deal with it. So you have to, so here you are your own counselor, you are bringing about new techniques, and you'll try them and see the next time how it helps you or whether it does. So first and foremost, you will have to start with the positive belief system. So far we were talking about anxiety as a negative feature, where it was helping us, where it was actually debilitating our performance. It was affecting the thoughts, so bringing about negative thoughts, it was lowering the mood, and it was affecting our performance. Now we are going to take this as a positive cycle. So what we are trying to do is we are going to use it as eustress. So the belief, or the one is that I can deal with this stress, I can control the situation. The other is that this also brings about, gives a feedback to the individual that I am in control. So we spoke about learned helplessness earlier, and so what we are doing is we are removing that learned helplessness phenomena from the individual's thoughts. So I am not helpless, I can do things actively to help myself. So it starts with a positive belief that I can help myself, and that will bring about a positive attitude. So that will bring about exploring other ideas to helping yourself, exploring other avenues, and it will also bring about positive expectations. So it's not like, oh, I am good for nothing, so there's nothing in store, I can't do much. So instead of that, it will be more of positive expectations. You will look out for positive ways to deal with things. Say, suppose if you are unable to do a task by yourself, if you have the positive attitude to look for other avenues to deal with it, so instead of taking the maladaptive behavior of leaving the task aside and being on Facebook or watching 2 films or just going off to sleep, instead of that you will explore other avenues. So maybe you will Google other TED Talks on the topic, or maybe find out people who are working on it, so form a team and ask your friends around, or maybe go and talk to your teachers. Or if it's a professional, maybe he will try and explore other avenues. Say, if I've lost a job, instead of thinking that, oh, it's no use and there's nothing much that I can do, he will explore other avenues to help himself. So there will be positive expectations. So when there are expectations, you will look out for opportunities and more awareness of positive behaviors and improvements. So even this thing, this thought about mastery, I can do something and I can do it well, that gives confidence, that builds confidence. So confidence is nothing but a positive feedback loop, where it enhances the idea, the positive loop, that I am I'm not bad, I'm good, and I can do this well, I can deal with things. So what you need to do is you need to enhance this positive cycle. So I would ask you people to write this down, that what could be your positive belief. Say, think about a task that you have to do in a couple of days, and say put down a positive belief, and then you see what are the expectations. You just look at yourself as to what are the positive attitudes that you could take towards it, what are the expectations that you may have, and how over time you see whether there are improvements, and you are actually exploring other avenues, and you will see that this positive belief is enhanced. Now that brings us to the situational control. So we've primarily discussed about the self-control techniques, and 3 of them we will take up in the next session, that's in the next week's session, that's of the different techniques of relaxation and physical exercise and health of healthy lifestyle changes. But now we get back to the second type of coping techniques, or situational control. So we'll discuss about the positive problem solving techniques primarily. Assertiveness we are going to take up in the next session. So what is problem solving? Problem solving, again, states that you have to acknowledge and clarify a problem, you need to have a problem, you need to understand that problem well, analyze the problem and identify the needs of those affected, brainstorm for all possible solutions, evaluate each option, select best option and implement plan, and evaluate the outcome. So, most of the times for problem solving, many of you may be thinking that, oh, this is very simple and I do this very often. I do know there is a problem. I don't need to think again. There is a problem, okay, and analyzing the problem, okay, fine. I know that I'll have to say, suppose you're a student and you have to finish, you have an exam, okay, in a week's time. So, you know there's a problem, there's an exam, and you know the ways to deal with it. So, you know you've analyzed the problem, you know, well, there are so many chapters that need to be covered, and meanwhile there are other submissions that you have to make, and along with that you also know that this is a very crucial exam. So, you've analyzed the problem, you've identified the needs, and now brainstorming all the possible solutions. Many times when I ask students this, they tell me that yes, I've done all this. So, where have you stopped? Why? What happened? No, I brainstormed that this is the only solution, and there's generally one solution only. No, that's not true. So, the most of the times what we do is we just think out aloud, or rather think and don't put it down. So, when we don't put it down, we don't explore all the opportunities. So, we just think of one or two ways to deal with this situation. So, many times, say if you have an exam and you have submissions to be made, so if you put it down on a sheet of paper as a plan for the day, then you will know exactly what tasks you need to complete around and how many hours you can actually give for each task. So, or if you, for the exam, if you just write down how many chapters you need to deal with and around how much time each chapter will take. So, you will know it very much in detail as to you know, approximately how much time would you need to finish something thoroughly, finish something with a revision, finish something with just a vision, just to get a glimpse of it. Most of the times it's just the vision and there is no revision at all before an exam. So, now if you, so what you can do is you can put it down on a sheet of paper as a flow chart or as a plan and brainstorm all the possible solutions to deal with it. So, if it is, for example, if you have classes during the day and at night you have your after that throughout the week, after that you have your exams immediately next week, then you can make a flow chart where you know exactly how much time you have for to study, and once you have all the chapters and their subtopics and subtopics written down, you know how much time you can put for each day. If you are part of different other groups and societies, say the drama society or the music or whatever, you also know how much time that will take up, so during the day. So, you could put this down if you have other submissions to make, so that would also need some time. So, instead many times what we do is, because we do not have these things in front of us at a glance, so at say evening, if you are free for an hour, you really do not know what to do, or maybe there is so much to do that you cannot structure it as to this has to be done first and then there is the next one. So, most of the times what we do is we avoid it and spend more time on the network online or maybe playing a game. So, now these, so you need to brainstorm all the possible solutions, evaluate each option, select the best option and implement the plan, and finally evaluate the outcome. This is again another step of problem solving that is left without. So, most of the times when we follow a problem solving plan, we do not evaluate the outcome. The evaluation is very important because that will give you a feedback as to how to deal with it in the next time if you are facing such a situation. So, if you have if you planned out a technique for the exam next week and after that, after the exams are over, if you have and if you evaluated that this was a good technique to follow, maybe in the next exam, or maybe in when you join a job, if you're a student now and you join a job later, then during a performance, these could be strategies that you could implement. So I would say that these are very simple strategies to follow, but you can start doing it by yourself and become your own stress management coordinator. So some of the tips are, if you are very stressed, take short breaks, set priorities, as I was talking of, creating a plan for the day. So once you have a plan for the day, you need to put it down as priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could do it on a larger scale by putting it as a goal setting for the next 1 week, or say next 2 weeks, or next 1 month, or maybe for 6 months. If you are appearing for say a public exam, say maybe it's GRE or CAT or something else, you can put it down as, I have this to be done in the next 6 months. So if that's my goal, to clear that exam, so what are the things that I need to do now? So you need to have some short term goals, some intermediary goals, and then some long term goals. So first, it's very easy to put down the long term goals, but we don't realize that how to break that. So you cannot finish one physics book in a day, one GK book in a day for exams. So what you need to break it down. So what do I need to do now to appear for the exams properly, to clear the exams after 6 months? So you need to have some short term goals, some intermediary goals, and some long term goals. So setting priorities, and which is a prioritized, so you put it down as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and talk about your stresses with someone and put it in perspective. So we've discussed about this earlier, that we must address stress when there is a stressful situation. Ignoring it doesn't help. So participating socially, so virtually participating with a lot of people, I have 10,000 friends, does not really help. But participating on a face-to-face basis, actually interpersonal connections help the brain to develop. So please understand, please remember that it also helps our systems to work better, our brains to work better, our immune systems to work better, and interactions also give us the feedback that is required for the neuroplasticity of the brain. We enhance our ideas through interactions, through understanding facial expressions, and that will help you to be more emotionally intelligent. So develop interest in hobbies, use humor to de-stress. This is something that I frequently see students use, and this is a very, very good strategy. So if you can if you can use humor, not sarcasm mind you, using humor to de-stress yourself by laughing at yourself or making fun of a situation, not by abusing somebody or not by hurting somebody, mind you, that really helps to reduce stress. And develop realistic goals. We spoken about goal setting, breaking it into subparts, into smaller goals and intermediate goals, short term goals and intermediate goals. Anticipate stress. So this stressful people will say, oh, I know all the stressful things that I can actually come across. We are not talking about apprehending the unforeseen and the sky falling down. So we are not talking of that sort of stress, but the preparing yourself. Say I have an exam and I know that this is what I need to do. So what's your backup plan? So I have a presentation and I have this on a PowerPoint on my pen drive. What's your backup plan if your pen drive doesn't work? Because if it doesn't work and you don't have a backup plan, then there will be anxiety because of that. So if you have a backup plan, then you are more safe. Now definitely I am talking about very small things that you could do when you anticipate stress. I am not talking about the sky falling down. Stop keeping things for later. Yes, this is a very important thing that you need to keep in mind, that's known as procrastination. Most of the people who are anxious are because of a lack of time management and organizing skills, who have a problem with these. So what happens is such individuals generally procrastinate. Also, anxiety in a situation, or thoughts about an anxiety situation, anxiety provoking situation, makes us avoid the situation, either in our thoughts and in action. So what do? We keep it for later. One of the examples being, I am really scared of my guide, so I don't meet him. So if you have to meet your guide and that's really anxiety provoking, one of the things that students generally do is avoiding talking to the teacher. So they avoid their guide and don't meet the person for months. So now that it's always better to address it. We also keep, another example could be that we keep our the subjects that we hate most, as in we don't understand or we don't like, we keep it for later, to study later. Now that's a problem, because you see it only on the last day before the exam. And if you're really stressed, get help. Talk to people, talk to professionals. So to improve planning, some of the things that you could do: post things, the urgent tasks that need to be due on your refrigerator, on your desktop, as a screensaver, as an Evernote, as a reminder. Keep one day for your appointments and errands. So put it down as a plan for the day. And even if it's one of the self-control techniques is, keep one task that you have pre-decided that you will finish, hail, storm, rain, whatever happens, before you go to bed. So that's also a way of enhancing self-control. I'm not going to go to bed before I finish my task. So do some make a plan for doing the chores of the day. So it could be a master list of I need to wash my clothes and clean my cupboard and things like that. So you have a chart for it, and if you have to do it, you have an agenda for the day, you need to finish it before you go to bed. You see that if you start doing this as a practice every day, then you will become more systematic and will be able to will become more confident in dealing with things, and that will help you to deal with things much better. And identify your individual strengths while exploring resources. So once you are starting to work, initiating things, you will also learn that you have several strengths. So identify those strengths. Maybe you can put it down that, well, I didn't know I could do this. Maybe this could be a small task for you today. What are my strengths? I didn't know I had this. You could ask some people, and then learn to enhance those. Ask people for input and re-evaluate effectiveness. As I said, that problem solving is incomplete unless you evaluate the process. So you could take this task as a problem solving task, and you see how effective it is in your daily life. Thank you.